Alright, so we're not doing any signs at this second. Find my notes between all these kid pictures. Alright, we're doing an astrology video again. I'm trying to cover all my bases so that, you know, there's more understanding in regards to the tarot readings and for personal knowledge, right? So we're going to talk about the houses today. In each birth chart, it has 12 houses. Each house defines an area of your life, right? This is where numerology plays a role in, you know, astrology and tarot. It kind of ties together. But this is also how we get, like, the numbers for the suits in tarot, right? So, like, 1, new beginnings, you know, all this. I'll kind of, like, walk through it, and you'll see what I mean. If you've watched tarot videos, you'll understand. So, first house is a house of self. This house is pretty self-explanatory. Focuses on the self and new beginnings, leadership, and ultimately our approach to life, if we're choosing a new approach or, you know, if we're not. But yeah, this is really our house of, like, our relationship to ourselves, really. And our second house, the house of possessions, this talks about the tangible, right? It talks about the material world. It also speaks on, you know, taking ownership of yourself, taking accountability. It's all about your personal values and taking responsibility of ourselves through work and independence, right? This also talks about, you know, partnerships and things like that. However, I would say the third house is more in alignment with, like, our connections, but we'll get to that in a sec. The second house is, like, you know, if you think about, like, the life cycle of a human, right? The first thing that we have to, the first thing that we're concerned about in our lives is ourselves, right? Our hunger, or, you know, making sure we're comfortable, all that, right? Our first concern is ourselves. And then after that comes these other things, right? And, you know, the second house is like, you know, what you have and what's going to, you know, help move you to the next cycle, right? The third house is the house of communication. This refers to communication between people you hold close, right? Like I said, this is more about those connections, those partnership type of energies. This talks about how you connect with others consciously and spiritually as well. This is all about, like, acquiring education and sharing your intelligence with others, right? This is like a cooperative house, right? How we operate with others that are in our tribe. Our fourth house is a house of family and home. This is all about laying roots, building foundations. This also addresses, like, the endings of cycles and rebirth, right? The fourth house is kind of all encompassing of, like, the cycles that go on in the home, right? And that's why, like, Four of Wands is all about the home and long-term commitments and, you know, things like that. Four of Pentacles is all about saving up and building a financial foundation. You know, Four of Swords is all about rest and, you know, taking time with ourselves. Which one am I missing? Four of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Four of Cups. Cups, emotions. I'm an Aquarius, so emotions are way far from me. Yeah, Four of Cups is, like, about what we're willing to accept or not accept, right? The Four of Cups is, like, being very picky and decisive about what we actually want to commit to in life, or what kind of things that we are welcoming in our home. In our home being, like, more than just our physical home, but our lives, right? Our entire life represents a home in a sense, you know? So the fifth house is a house of pleasure, indulgence. This is the hedonistic house, right? It talks about creation through pleasure, right? Like procreation. This could also talk about having passion for creation and projects. This could talk about your talents and falling into alignment with things that just feel good to you, right? To pursue. Let's get through all those pictures. Get to the 6th house. 6th house is a house of health. This talks about your discipline in regards to your health, your mental health, and your overall well-being, right? It talks about how we handle or approach our responsibilities and duties also, right? Because the way that we handle our lives represents a lot about or it shows a lot about our mental health or our mental state. So yeah, and I'm really kind of breaking these down because there's 12 houses, and I'm not gonna keep y'all on an hour-long video while I dive deep. So I'm covering the bases, right? And then we'll continue learning more. And the next one, because I did want to do the zodiacs, and as I was like doing the notes for the zodiacs, I was like, they need to know what the houses are, otherwise, like they'll be like, what does this mean? So I'm doing houses, and then we're gonna do the zodiacs and their relation to planets and the houses. So then anyway, the 7th house, the house of partnerships. And this talks about how we cooperate and relate to others in partnerships. This is talking about love, business, family, friendships, teamwork, right? These kinds of things. The 7th house also talks about like opportunities and pathways that we choose. It's all about, this could be in regards to networking and making connections with people that help us build in more than one aspect in our lives, right? The 8th house is a house of sex. So this is obviously gonna be inclusive of relationships and all the complexities involved with sex, right? And I feel like sex itself is kind of a complication, if you will, and it doesn't always have to be a negative complication. However, it's going to bring things up in your self, right? Because sex is a transference of energy, right? This is how we share with people, through intimacy, deeper aspects of ourselves. I forgot who said it, but somebody once said that, like, every time you have an orgasm, a part of you dies, right? And this is kind of where that rebirth energy kind of comes with sex also, because this could be a negative death, where it's like, oh no, I've lost an aspect of myself, or this could be a positive thing where we let go of things that don't fit in our lives and we fall more in alignment with, what is bringing us fulfillment or whatever. Sex plays a vital role in creation, right? It can create self-imposed prisons, right? It can create the wrong types of infatuations. Like, there are negative aspects to sex that I would like to also bring to the table, right? Because yes, sex can be a beautiful thing. However, if you're sharing your energy with the wrong types of people, it can be really ugly, right? So, this talks about kind of the all-encompassing energy of sex, right? The good, the bad, the excitement, the everything, The 9th house is the house of philosophy. This is our pursuit of purpose, discovery of what drives us and what drains us, right? This house is about introspection and exploring our own curiosities, values, morals, and ultimately our character. Because learning our personal philosophies and tapping into, what we feel is the right path for us, right? We have to learn. Some people are more hedonistic, some people are more stoic, and there's no wrong or right way to approach life, right? It's not like we were born with a manual, right? And then all the manuals they have are kind of fucked, to be honest. So We have to build our own through our philosophy and through our life lessons, through our mistakes, through our successes, our wins, our losses, you know. This is where we really develop self. The 10th house is a house of social status. Also self-explanatory. This is all about networking and attracting others based on your status. So status usually kind of implies alpha, beta, sigma, all right? And I like the sigma aspect because the sigma is one who kind of stands outside of the competition. Like, I'm not trying to be alpha or beta. I'm just trying to live my own life, march into the beat of my own drum. You know, that's a sigma. They don't need to get stuck in their ego, right? Like, ego is important, yes, and I've talked about that many times. The thing that's not important is allowing your ego to run your life, right? Or to have mastery over you, right? You should have mastery over your ego. So your ego pops up when it needs to, and it shuts up when it needs to. This house could also talk about public acknowledgement, fame, helping your community, being in the spotlight. This talks about, you know, the role and purpose that we embrace and accept in society. Our titles and responsibilities at work, in our families and with our friends, etc., in our relationships. Our 10th house really kind of implies, like, you know, how am I trying to verbalize this? It's like I have thoughts and trying to put them into words, is, you know, but basically the 10th house is, you know, about, like, the things that lift you up, right? This is all about your tribe and people even outside your tribe, people that you inspire, even through the butterfly effect. This could have a negative aspect too, you know. Anybody who has a lot of friends would know, like, it's not easy carrying the energies of your friends, right? Or having a lot of expectations on you, right? The 10th house requires a lot of patience and a lot of sometimes solitude, right? Because with status comes a lot of energies, and we need to be able to take a time out every now and then and be like, all right, what am I doing for me? Like, I gotta get my energy in alignment before I go back out into the world. You know, being in the spotlight can be rough. So there's that. The 11th house is a house of friendships. This focuses on strength in numbers, communication, social groups, and how we present ourselves to others. This talks more about the people who are really in your inner circle, whereas the 10th house can be more than that. It could be your acquaintances, it could be your followers, your fans, you know, like people that you may not even know personally, but who are rooting for you from the distance, you know. This is, and the 11th house is it's a lot closer, right? 11 in numerology, right? Because numerology likes to break down double digits and multiple digits into one, right? So if we were to break 11 down to one digit, it would be 2, right? 1 plus 1, 2. And so there is a connection to the second house there, where the second house does kind of, you know, talk about our partnerships, and, you know, it even connects a lot to our third house. But, like, if you see 1 plus 1, you're thinking this is connection, right? And this is a house of friendship, so it's not necessarily like romantic, you know. And it can be. You can't have a solid romantic relationship without friendship, you know. But this is a different kind of union, you know. It's a different kind of unity, alliance, you know, that kind of thing. And then we finally get to the 12th house, the house of the subconscious, the shadow realm. This is all about shadow work, dealing with our sorrows, dealing with pain, dealing with trauma. The shadow work really plays a vital role in the human experience because it teaches us how to be human, right? It's all about accountability, how we handle ourselves during our failures and successes, our integrity versus our ego. Um, you know, it reminds me a lot of this quote that I hear all the time, so there's not really a direct person I've heard it from. But, like how you, this house is all about like doing the right thing even when nobody's there to witness it. That's really like where your integrity comes from, right? I don't remember the exact quote, so I held a paraphrase, but that's essentially what this is about. It's about like having integrity even when nobody is going to be there to applaud you or root for you or be like, hey, you did a good job making that good choice. It's like just doing it for the sake of doing good, right? And sometimes, we don't do good. Like, bottom line, and that's part of the human experience, right? This is part of identifying our shadow, because everybody thinks that they're perfect until they actually take like time for self-awareness and be like, you know what I did in this situation was probably fucked up, or the way I handled this was fucked up, or even if I didn't feel like what I did was fucked up, it was perceived fucked up. And so is there another way that I could maybe do life, or correct these, whatever. This is all about personal accountability. And I feel like it's one of the most important things, right? It's the 12th house for a reason, because past the 12th house is ascension, right? And so, yes. And then we've covered the bases of the houses. Now I can really tell you which planet rules what house, or what zodiac is ruled by what house, and what planets, and da 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 da. We can really get into that. So now I've covered these bases. Consider your houses like spiritual houses. These are the places that we live in. These are the energies that we naturally like gravitate towards. Some people are more focused on their friendships and their tribes. Some people are more focused on their social status. Some people are more focused on sex and intimacy. Some people are more focused on, it's like everybody can fit into a different house, or probably even several houses, but this is very all-encompassing. I feel like we visit every house, and this is why we have all 12 houses in our chart, right? We visit every house in our natal chart, right? And the way that we do that has a lot to do with the zodiac that is, in that house. Like, if your 9th house is in Leo, right? What's the 9th house? I have to go back. The house of philosophy, right? Then this means, like, your approach to philosophy is going to be one of, like, inspiration and motivation, right? Like, you're going to be very motivated to pursue, like, philosophy and to really, present yourself in a way that you're living out your philosophy, right? Leos are not so much the ones that are going to, how do I put this? They're the action takers, right? They would much rather live out their philosophy than spend their entire lives just studying it and never living it, right? It's one of my favorite things. Right, so this is how, these houses really help you understand how you relate to the houses when you're sitting in these houses, or, whatever. Like with the 6th house, right? If your 6th house was in Gemini, for example, you might go back and forth with your health, or like you might be like, oh, motivated to like work out and get healthy and all this, and then like a few months later you're like, I'd rather not. I'm gonna go eat some pizza and fucking indulge a little bit, And so like I feel, whatever energy that zodiac is bringing to these houses, that it really shows your personal relationship to the houses, how you approach the houses, how you relate to them. But yes, this is pretty much what I have for you in regards to the houses. I'm going to get on some readings now And I hope that you have a fantastic day. Namaste. Love you guys.